and I'm Chair of the Radnor Township EAC, and I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight for our Sustainability Series program. We are delighted to present a program tonight called Bringing Green Energy Home. As always, these Sustainability Series programs are brought to you in cooperation between the Radnor Conservancy, the Radnor Environmental Advisory Council, and the Radnor League of Women Voters. And tonight we have the pleasure of having Diana Andrzejak with us from the Pennsylvania Resources Council. The program that she's going to be presenting this evening is a program that is developed using some educational grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and developed in conjunction, PRC in conjunction with the Delaware County Conservation District. So we are delighted to have you here this evening to teach us a little bit about bringing green energy home. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. For the people who are coming in, I just wanted to let you know there is a sign-in sheet, and the little tickets that are over there are for our energy audit raffle, so make sure you enter your name. I'll be picking the winner at the end of the presentation tonight. There's a handout that goes along with the presentation, as well as some additional handouts, and don't forget to pick up your CFL bulb as well, okay? So my name is Diana Andrzejak. I am the Manager of Education at the Pennsylvania Resources Council, and as Brenda was saying, this presentation is called Bringing Green Energy Home. It's an energy conservation and renewable energy workshop. So I'm going to go over the overview with you tonight so you see what we're going to be talking about. First, I'll introduce PRC and the Delaware County Conservation District. We'll go over our workshop goals. Basically then, what is going green and green energy efficiency versus energy conservation, and the largest part of our presentation, we're going to have the benefits of going green as well as our tips, our efficiencies, and technologies. Then I'll go over some of the tax credits, rebates, and incentives that are available, and the additional resources, which if I refer to a website, they should all be listed on the additional resources, which is the last page of the workshop handout. Okay. All right. This presentation was developed with the Delaware County Conservation District. Unfortunately, Brian Vedino, he could not be here tonight, so I'll be handling it by myself. But just to let you know, the Conservation District, their mission is to ensure the wise use of Delaware County's natural resources and to protect and restore the natural environment through the conservation of its soil, water, and related resources. And they're located down at Rose Tree Park if you ever want to stop by. PRC, if you're not familiar with us, we're one of the oldest environmental nonprofit organizations in the state. We've been around since 1939, and we deal with a lot of green living and conservation issues. As you can see up there, recycling, waste reduction, litter prevention, household hazardous waste, watershed stewardship, environmental education programs, alternative energy, visual blight of billboards. So we touch on a lot of things. Those two pictures that are up on the screen, those are from our Lens on Litter contest. If anybody's interested, you can pick up a brochure tonight. This is about the 20th year for our contest, and it's very easy to do. You just take a picture of litter, give it a little caption, and send it in to us. Top prize is $1,000. Second prize is $500. Third prize is $250. And there's a separate category for adults and students. So if you or anyone you know, children, grandchildren, are interested, pick up one of the brochures on your way out. And I'll also say PRC, we actually just started a farmer's market at our location as well, the Edgemont Farmers Market. So we're trying to, reach some more sustainability in that regard with local produce, locally grown and made products as well. So we have a handout for all of that stuff over there. Okay. But why you're really here tonight, let's talk about green energy. So the workshop goals. I want you to know that going green is actually for everyone. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. And we want to help you make some informed choices about integrating some new technologies, energy efficiency, energy conservation into your lives and into your properties. We want to foster increased use of energy conservation and energy efficiency technologies as well. and help you take advantage of credits and rebates and incentives that are available for you to go green in many ways. Okay, so I'm sure you all know this, but just to cover, what is going green? It's a popular term to describe changing one's actions to benefit the environment. But what we really want you to know is it doesn't have to involve sweeping lifestyle changes. It can, but there are a lot of other things that you can do on a daily basis to help green your lives. And when we go over some of the different energy tips or different sections, there will be tips that you can use as well. But some of the most common ways of going green: sustainable living, limiting the use of natural resources to meet our present needs while still protecting them for the future. So altering our modes of transportation, conserving energy, changing your diet, buying locally. Buying and using green products, that's another great way. Now this can involve something as simple as buying paper towels that have been recycled, or looking for those products that don't contain those highly toxic compounds, ones that can be easily recycled themselves, ones that actually employ sustainable harvesting or sustainable management practices when they're being made. And of course, what we're very familiar with, the reduce, reuse, recycle. And it's very important. We've heard it forever, but it does help to minimize waste, save our landfill space, and conserve our resources. Okay. So then what is green energy? It's a little different. It fits in with going green, but it's energy that's produced in a way that has less of a negative impact on the environment compared to fossil fuels. So we usually say solar, wind, hydro, biomass, geothermal. And this can start a debate here whether you want to put nuclear in there or not. It can kind of be classified in several ways, but it does tend to have a lower waste output than fossil fuels. The goal is to create power while making less pollution. Energy efficiency and renewable energy, they're two of the pillars of green energy. And this also includes technologies that improve energy efficiency. And we'll talk about some of those as well. Okay. And just to clarify, there is actually a difference between energy efficiency and energy conservation. We tend to use the words interchangeably, but they do have slightly different meanings. Energy efficiency is using energy more wisely. So like technologies that might require less energy to perform the same functions. For example, the CFL bulbs we're giving out tonight, right? They use 75% less energy than a regular incandescent light bulb. So you're using energy more wisely by switching to a CFL. Energy conservation tends to be behaviors that result in less energy, and they're usually little or no cost. So the things that we always know, like turning off the lights, taking a shorter shower. So it tends to be more behaviors that help to save energy. But regardless, both of them are very important parts of helping this bringing green energy home idea. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of bringing green energy home? Well, there are several. The biggest one is probably to help lessen our demand for natural resources. Now this was from the Energy Information Agency, this graph here, and it's a projection of fossil fuels and actually our fuel supplies through the year 2030. And as you can see, fossil fuels are still expected to continue supplying much of the world's energy by that time. Liquid fuels like oil, they remain the largest source of energy still. Natural gas consumption, that increases by about 44% worldwide. Coal consumption rises at about a 1.6% rate every year. And the good news is renewable sources, they're going to be the fastest growing source. However, they're starting from such a small point that they're still not up there. But it is good news that we are projecting them to rise. But you can see there, it's the second line from the bottom, the green line, where it's starting down at around 10%, going up to about 14% there, a little higher. So another benefit, though, aside from helping to save our natural resources, saves you some money in a couple different ways. One of the biggest ones is probably reducing your utility bills. The typical energy bill for a household is about $1,800, $2,200. So by making some of these changes we talk about today, you can help to save yourself money in that area. And obviously we can also save on fuel costs too. Transportation right now accounts for about 67% of all oil consumption in our country. So if you go out and you replace your gas guzzlers with more fuel efficient cars, we can really help to reduce our transportation costs. And just the fact there at the bottom that a vehicle that gets 30 miles per gallon will cost you $683 less to fuel each year than one that gets 20 miles per gallon. That actually might even be higher now, because I think this was done before gas was almost $4 a gallon. So, okay. There are tax credits, rebates, and incentives available to save you money. I have a few slides at the end to talk about those on the federal, state, and local levels. And actually, it's also linked to increased home value. According to a McGraw-Hill study, 70% of home buyers would rather buy a green home than a non-green home. And in fact, when they surveyed people by the American Institute of Architects several years ago, they said they'd be willing to pay at least $5,000 more to build or buy a home that would use some less energy. So there's some other ways as well to save money. Okay. And another benefit is really to help reduce our area's carbon footprint. I'm sure you've heard this term many times, but just in case you're not familiar with what it means, it's measuring the total greenhouse gases that are emitted into the atmosphere by activities. And it's measured in tons of carbon dioxide, CO2, but it really does include all greenhouse gases. And they're the gases that trap heat in the atmosphere. The most abundant ones are water vapor, CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, chlorofluorocarbons. So when we say greenhouse gases or we say tons of CO2, we're actually talking about all of them. And what it really goes into is the burning of fossil fuels for energy consumption and transportation. They're the two big ones that go into measuring the carbon footprint. And of course, this is linked to climate change, global warming. I won't go into all of that. But calculating your carbon footprint, it's a good tool. And there are several different calculators. I included them on your additional resources page if you're interested to see what your personal carbon footprint is. But it can help us to understand how parts of our behavior can be impacting the environment and what we might want to make changes in our daily lives. So check out a carbon footprint calculator. You'd be interested by the results. Okay. And in our area, out of the 100 largest metropolitan areas in the country, Philadelphia ranks about 27th for carbon emissions from transportation and residential energy use. Not too bad, I guess, but we are actually increasing at a rate that's higher than the rest of the country. So our between 2000 and 2005, we increased about 6.81%. And while everybody else is only rising about 1% a year, we're rising about 2.2%. So we are getting up there fast compared to the rest of the country. Okay. So what are some things that we can do? Well, we'll go over now are some tips, some technologies, some energy efficiency methods that you can employ in your own lives. But before you can go about changing anything, it's pretty important to know how we use energy, to where to focus our efforts. So the first step, identify. And if you're looking at this chart here, heating and cooling is about 50% of our home energy use. Right? It makes sense. So right there, heating and cooling are our biggest energy users. Doing a home energy audit, though, you can help to target areas that you need saving. So make sure everybody filled out your little ticket tonight, so you might be able to win one. Audits can be done yourselves. You can even do them online now. And I talk about Energy Works later, but here's a good place to mention this, that an energy audit used to cost about $400. Energy Works now has subsidized the cost, and you can get one for $150 through this program. It's a really, really good deal. They'll come out, they will do a pretty extensive audit of your home and give you a report to show you where you may need to upgrade or might be beneficial for you to upgrade. If you don't want to have somebody come out to do it, you can do some online ones. Pico has an online e-audit. It's through their Smart Ideas program. You put in your account number, you answer some questions about your house, like what type of heating system do you have, windows, questions you should know the answer to, and then they calculate and give you a detailed report about where you can save some energy. So it's a pretty good tool to use just to get you started, to see where you might have some energy savings. We're going to start with heating and cooling, since that is the biggest user of energy in our homes, and they do emit the most greenhouse gases as well. So some basic tips just to get us started. Now, you're probably familiar with most of these, but it doesn't hurt to go over them. Trying to keep control of your thermostat. I know when it's 100 degrees out there, it's really easy to want to kick it down 72, 70, 68, If you can try to keep that up higher and not run your air conditioner as hard, you're obviously going to save yourself some money. Use ceiling fans to help circulate the air more. So try to do that. And same thing in the winter. Try not to pump your heat up as high. Use blankets, use sweatshirts to help you. That'll definitely help you save some money and some energy. Very important thing to do. Clean and replace your filters regularly on your heating and cooling systems. Okay, this helps it not have to work so hard. It helps that air get out there better, so it saves you money and energy as well. Check your air vents, check your registers, check your radiators, make sure they're not blocked. Bleed your radiators or trapped air at least twice during the season, especially when you first go to turn them on. Get all that extra air out of there, okay? Try to use the sun or your drapes, depending on the season, to help control the temperature in your house. When it's nice and sunny out in the winter, open them up. Try to use the solar gain to heat up your house. This time of year, keep them closed, right? Try not to heat up your house so much with the sun's rays during the day. Have your furnace inspected and tuned up. That's just not for energy efficiency, that's also for safety as well. And installing a programmable thermostat might be an option you want to look into as well. So that way, if you're not home during the day, you don't have to have the air conditioning down so low. You can have it turn on an hour or so before you get home and cool. Same thing at night, you don't need it running full blast all night, so you can program it and save yourself some money and energy that way. Okay. Now I'm going to go over some of these technologies, and I do want to point out, I'm not an engineer. I know the basics of this stuff, but I'll go over it as best as I can. I am more an environmental educator, but when we go over these technologies, I know, I've worked with this stuff, but some of these specifics, like I said, I'm not an engineer, but I'll do my best. We're going to start off with furnaces and boilers. They're the most common way to heat a home. Okay, most people have a furnace or a boiler, and it's usually fueled by gas or oil. And just to go over, furnaces use the combustion of fuel and air to create heat, and the heat's distributed through the ducts through your house. Boilers are a little different. Obviously, they boil water, and boilers heat water. So they provide either hot water or steam for heating. So the steam is distributed through pipes via the radiators or through baseboard radiators or floor radiant systems. And just a couple interesting tidbits here. Steam boilers operate at a higher temperature than hot water boilers, so they're going to be inherently less efficient. And the good news is, though, high efficiency versions of all these types of furnaces and boilers are available if you have to replace it. As you can see on this next page here, the efficiency of a furnace or boiler is measured by the annual fuel utilization efficiency, Everything we go over has an efficiency way, and it's all a jumble of alphabet letters. But the idea is whatever these letters are jumbled together, depending on what we're talking about, it's measuring their efficiency. That's what these do. So it's the ratio of heat output compared to the total energy it uses. So if it has a rating of 90%, that means 90% of the energy becomes heat and only 10% escapes. That's very good. Unfortunately, older furnaces and boilers only had about 56 to 70% efficiency. So in some cases, I mean, you're losing a lot of that just is escaping and it's being wasted. So modern heating systems now have efficiencies as high as 97%. So when you're out there and you need to buy a new furnace, a new boiler, make sure you're looking for one that has a very high efficiency. And you can see in the table here that the savings for every $100 of fuel cost by increasing your equipment. So if you go from a system that was only 50% efficient to 95% efficient, you're saving $47.36 on every $100. So it can make a very big significant difference. Now, if you want to start to branch out a little bit into some of these different technologies, heat pumps. This is one that's becoming more common nowadays. They run on electricity, and they use the electricity to move the heat. They don't generate the heat, or like they're combusting the heat as the furnaces do. They're just moving heat around. And it's the most efficient form of electric heating that you can choose because they provide 3 to 4 times the amount of energy than it uses. So they're very, very efficient. There are 3 types of heat pumps. There are air, there's water, and ground or geothermal, which you're probably more familiar with. And it can act as both a heating and the cooling unit. So what happens, as you can see in the diagram there, depending on which way it is, it's either run into the ground, run into the water, or out into the air. And it just takes the heat. So in the winter, it would take the heat from the outside air, if you have an air heat pump, and move it inside of your house. Believe it or not, even when it's cold outside, there's heat in that air. So it's taking the air from outside, making that air even colder, and moving it inside and making your air even hotter. And it works the opposite in the summer. It's taking the hot air from inside your house and moving it outside and making the air or water or ground, depending on which type of heat pump you have, hotter. So it's really just transferring the heat around. And if you are looking to buy one, like we said, they all have ratings. So you want to look for the coefficient of performance is how these are rated. Look for a heating coefficient of performance 1.2 or greater, and cooling 0.7 or greater. Those are going to give you the most energy, most efficiency on these. And then we can go here, heating with biomass, like a pellet burning stove, for example. It's a little different. I'll talk about a wood burning stove next. Pellet burning stoves burn what looks like the rabbit food up in the corner there. And the pellets are made from a lot of different materials like sawdust, wood chips, bark, agricultural waste, waste paper, other renewable materials. So that's why it's called biomass. Some can even burn nutshells, cherry pits, sunflower seeds. And you think a traditional wood burning stove, there's not much to it. But these pellet burning stoves, they're actually can be pretty sophisticated nowadays. Pellets are fed from the hopper into the pot area, but these nowadays are controlled by computer systems. They have sensors in there, so these can actually be pretty sophisticated devices. They provide much higher combustion and heating efficiency than ordinary wood stoves because of this too, and they produce very little pollution, believe it or not. They're the cleanest solid burning fuel of residential heating appliances. Combustion efficiency is 78 to 85%, which is great because they are exempt from EPA smoke emissions. So they are very good and they don't pollute that much. Now, these are designed more for room areas, but you can have them hooked up to do a larger area. That is possible. And then we have our traditional wood burning stoves. Wood is still considered biomass. What's great about the new stoves, they have to be certified by the EPA. So you can see now they're producing a lot less smoke per hour, only about 2 to 7 grams, whereas older uncertified stoves were releasing 15 to 30 grams of smoke per hour. So these are much better in that regard. And there's 2 different types. There's catalytic combustion and non-catalytic combustion. I just recommend you do your research to see which one is better for you. The catalytic ones, they're more expensive and they require more maintenance, but they're a bit more efficient than non-catalytic ones. But the non-catalytic ones are the more common ones. They're less expensive. They're easier to maintain. So it really depends on your level of know-how a little bit here as well for these stoves. But they're also, they're good choices. You are burning renewables instead of fossil fuels in this regard. Okay. We'll move over to cooling, air conditioners. I'll start off with room air conditioners here. The energy efficiency ratio is used to measure their efficiency. So it's the capacity of the BTUs to the watts. Anyway, the higher the rating, basically the more energy efficient the air conditioner. So you want to look for units that have 10.0 or higher that their rating is. So if you're looking for a window unit now, try to get one that's 10 or higher. They're going to be the most efficient. And size does matter when you're buying air conditioners. Some people think, oh, I want the biggest air conditioner to cool down my room. Well, that's not necessarily true. If it's too big, it might not remove all the humidity. It'll cycle on and off more frequently. So you want to measure your room and make sure you do get the correct size. Obviously, if it's too small, you're not going to be able to cool the space that you need. And a small unit running for an extended period of time operates more efficiently and is more effective at dehumidifying. So just make sure you buy the right size. Central air conditioners are more common. They're more efficient too than room air conditioners, especially for larger buildings. But if you don't have the ductwork, you don't have, your house isn't ready, they can be very, very expensive to install and have all of that put in. And just like room air conditioners, make sure you want to get the proper sizing so you have the right efficiency. And they're measured by the SEER, the Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. Older systems, their rating was about 6 or less. Newer air conditioners manufactured after 2006 must have a rating of 13 or higher. So I don't usually recommend going out and changing any of these technologies just to change them. But if you ever wanted to do that with anything, it would probably be your air conditioner because of how much they have improved in just the last few years. They're ones that you would see savings with. Everything else, wait until it breaks and stuff because the cost you're putting out for it versus how much savings you're getting might not be worth it just to replace something, but you might want to look into replacing your central system if you have one that's really not energy efficient. You could be wasting a lot of money in that regard. So it says replacing models that are only 10 years or that are 10 years or older with newer ones can save you 20 to up to 40%. That's pretty significant. Okay. But more than anything else, you want to make sure your home is insulated and sealed properly. They can cut your heating and cooling costs by 30% just by making sure you do some of these steps here. The areas that are going to be most prone to leaking, your attic, your basement, your windows, doors, baseboards, electrical outlets, around your wall air conditioners. All of those are places that you can be losing your heating or your cooling depending on the season. So you want to try to find some leaks. And there's some easy ways to do it yourself if you want to look. So obviously look for light. This is a good tip. You're going to take a flashlight. Maybe when it's dark out, go outside and shine a light around your window, or even do it from the inside and have someone look outside because someone might think someone's breaking into your house, right? And if you see light coming through the cracks around your window, obviously you have some leakage there, right? An incense stick can work in some places too. If you light one and then pass it around the edges where the smoke is either sucked out or blown in, can also be showing places where you have leakage. or even just wetting your hands. That can help you sometimes feel if air is blowing in places too. It makes you a little bit more sensitive. So those are some ways that you can do it yourself. You want to caulk cracks and gaps that are less than 1/4 inch wide. Weather strip your doors and windows. Try to use insulating blinds and shades. We already talked about using the blinds or the shades to keep the heat out, but even insulating ones can help keep your heating and cooling in as well. And if you have some really old windows, you might want to consider upgrading them too. New replacement energy efficiency windows, they can really save you a lot of money. Unfortunately, the credits for those expired as of December 31st last year. They were offering some good tax credits. You can still get, I think, up to $200 for windows as a tax credit, but they were offering more last year. Okay. And believe it or not, only 20% of homes built before 1980 are well insulated. So there's a good chance you might need some more insulation in your home. You want to check it. Check how much you have. See if it meets the R value. And you can actually go to the Department of Energy's zip code insulation calculator, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you how much insulation you should have in your home. And you can try to compare against that to see if you should put some more insulation in. And I bet you probably even know yourselves in some of the places, if you do or don't, your house is just getting too cold. You probably know you might need some more insulation. Okay. After heating and cooling, water heating is your largest energy expense. Think about it. We're paying twice, right? You're paying for the cost of water and you're paying to heat it. So it's a pretty big expense. So some basic tips to help cut your costs for water heating. Easiest thing to do, turn down the temperature on your water heater. If you've never touched it since it's been installed, factory settings are usually up to 140. If you turn on your hot water and your hand gets scalded, you don't have to race to turn on your cold water. It's too hot. You don't need it that high. 120 is sufficient. Go turn it down. You'll save yourself some money that way. Installing low flow or aerating faucets and shower heads, that'll help as well, mixing some air in with the water. Repair your leaky faucets. Take shorter showers. We know this, but sometimes you just have a leak, a drip that drips and drips. You don't think much about it. It actually adds up. Insulating your hot water tank in the first 6 feet of pipes, that can help you as well to help keep the heating in your tank so it doesn't have to run as hard to heat up your water. And if you know how to do this, or if you still have your manual for your water tank, drain a quart of water every 3 months from your tank, because it helps to remove the sediments that might impede the heat transfer, and that would reduce your heater's efficiency. So if you drain some of that water out, it'll make your heater more efficient. Okay. Now most people have a conventional big storage tank hot water heater. They're the most popular type. Fuel sources can be gas, propane, oil, electricity. They run on a lot of different sources. The issue with them though is the water is always being heated. So you're having a standby energy loss with those kinds of tanks. So you want to look for models that have their thermal resistance or their R value at 12 to 25 if you need to replace and you want to go for a tank. And insulate your tank too so you don't have as much of that energy loss. However, you also might want to consider the tankless on-demand systems. They don't store water. They just heat it when it's needed. So you don't have that standby energy loss, right? And they deliver that constant supply of hot water. However, there are certain limits to how much you can use at one time hot water-wise if you only have one tank. That's why a lot of people do decide to install two. So say you're taking a shower and running your dishwasher and try to do laundry. You have several different water sources going that require hot water. That can stretch the demand for these tankless systems because they provide about 2 to 5 gallons of hot water a minute. So that's why in the picture there we have 2 of them hooked up. That'll help. So if you have some running for some appliances, some for other, that can help lessen the demand for the hot water. But overall, they're very good at not having that just constant energy loss because they're not constantly heating water. It's only when you need it. Okay. And of course, there are solar water heaters available too. They come in so many different designs. They all include a collector and a storage tank, and they use the sun's energy to heat up the water. So there's active ones, there's passive ones, there's ones with pumps that circulate the water throughout your house. Different locations have different needs and require different systems. However, I find our area, people don't seem to think these are the best because you really need an unobstructed access to the sun between those hours of 10 and 2 for that solar gain. So maybe some places out west, south tend to be a little bit better for these solar water heaters, but they might be good to have in conjunction with your system that you have set up already if you're looking to try to save yourself some energy or, just implement some of these green technologies in your house. And you can also have a heat pump for your water. Just like we talked about heat pumps before for heating your household, they can be used to heat water as well. So again, it pulls in the heat from the surrounding air, puts that in the tank, and uses that to heat up your water. So they're pretty neat too, and they run on electricity as well, just like all of the other heat pumps. And you can actually have a combined system that can heat your water and do your space heating as well. So it's something good to look into. Okay. Move on to lighting now. Lighting, it's a very fast, cheap, and easy way to use some green technologies and also to help cut your energy costs. About 10% of your energy bill is spent on lighting, so it might be beneficial to look into some of these new technologies. And of course, basic tips, we all know, turn off your lights when you don't need them. Use the sunlight if you can instead of having your lights turned on during the day. Keep your lights clean. Dust can cut your light output by 25% in your house, so when you're dusting, dust your bulbs too, someplace we don't usually think of. Make sure you're buying the right type of bulb for your fixture too. If you're putting the wrong kind of bulb in there, you might not be saving as much energy as you think. And buy Energy Star. Everyone should know the blue Energy Star logo. Light fixtures and light bulbs have them. So if you're buying one that's Energy Star rated, it has to be more energy efficient than ones that don't have that symbol. And also consider using timers. I mean, if you're someone who like me, I fall asleep on my couch almost every night. So I have my light go off at a certain time. So when I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't still have my lamp on, right? Same thing if you watch TV. Use a timer on your TV to fall asleep too. Don't just fall asleep. They can help save some energy as well. Okay. And CFLs, we brought some of those with us tonight. I think we have the 100-watt equivalents we bought. They're very, very good if you haven't switched to them, and they're getting better. When they first came out, I know a lot of people didn't like them so much, but the newer ones, they don't take as long to heat up, or to fully light up. They come in instant on varieties now. They have them dimmable, they have them 3-way, they have them with the little globes so they look like incandescents. So they're making them fit a lot of people's different needs and likes. But what's really important about them, they use 75% less energy than an incandescent light bulb. They don't have to, incandescent light bulbs, if you go over to them, you put your hand near it, you can feel that heat coming off. 90% of the energy in those bulbs is just being wasted to produce heat. We want light from it, not heat from it. So that's why CFLs are different. They will get warm, but they don't get nearly as hot as an incandescent bulb because they have a chemical reaction that occurs inside of them instead of a wire that's being heated up. It's getting so hot, it's glowing, right? So it uses less energy. And they do last longer. They last about 10 times longer than an incandescent light bulb. And the good news is they're pretty cheap now. They used to be much more expensive, but the prices have come down. Pico, through their smart lighting program, had discounted the cost of these bulbs, and now they've just filed with the PUC to change their smart lighting program to start bringing discounts on the dimmables, the three-way. So the more specialized CFL bulbs, you might start to see the prices come down on those very soon as well. And in case you're wondering what you should replace it with, use the rule of 4, divide by 4. So if you normally use a 100-watt bulb, you only need about a 25-watt CFL. If you use a 60-watt bulb, you only need a 15-watt CFL. So you can just see right there that it's using less watts, it's going to be using less energy and saving you money. Another technology that's still getting better are the LEDs, the light emitting diodes. They use even less energy than a CFL and way less than an incandescent. And they're supposed to last about even 15 times longer. I heard an anecdote that if you put an LED in a baby's nursery when they're born, you shouldn't have to change it until they're 18 and go away to college. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're supposed to be very long lasting and very energy efficient. And they don't produce heat at all. They produce even less heat than a CFL. And they turn on instantly. They don't have that warm-up period that some CFLs still have. They're more durable and damage resistant. Some people get concerned with CFLs that there's some mercury in them. LEDs, you don't have this concern with. But just to let you know, there's more mercury in some of the old tooth fillings than there are in your CFL light bulb. There's more in your watch battery than there are in the CFL light bulbs. But it's still in there. So if you do break it, you have to clean them up in special ways. You don't have that concern necessarily with the LEDs. The problem is they are still very, very expensive. Going to buy a bulb for your lamp, it might cost you $10. So just like CFLs were very expensive when they first came out, LEDs are. I'm sure the price will come down as the technology improves. But look for that in the future because they're even more energy efficient. Or if you want to put out some money and try them now, they are available. And as you can see in the picture, they have them in soft white, cool white, natural or daylight. So they don't just have, some people think LED, the blue light. No, they're not making them just like that anymore either. Okay. I would just touch on appliances and electronics very quickly because they count for about 20% of your energy costs. Refrigerators, washers, and dryers, they use the most energy. And so you want to make sure you're going to choose the most efficient to help reduce your costs. And that's the Energy Star symbol right there. When you buy an appliance, an electronic, you want to look for that symbol because they meet guidelines that are set by the Department of Energy and the Department of Environmental Protection. And Energy Star products usually exceed the minimum federal standards for energy efficiency. And that means they're going to cost less to operate. So try to buy things that have the Energy Star symbol on them. And use your Energy Guide label. I know we all think we see these yellow labels on things, but what exactly does it mean? It has some very valuable information on it, actually. It provides an estimate of their yearly energy consumption, as well as how much money it's going to cost you to run. So, for example, in the picture up here, say you're looking for a refrigerator, it's telling you that the model you're looking at right now is the top black arrow, 776 kilowatt hours a year. Well, what's that mean? If you're looking at some other similar models though, the highest ones in that category use 836. The best one uses 742. So the option you're looking at, it's kind of on the lower end of the scale. So it kind of gives you an idea of should I buy this or not? And then it does tell you it'll cost you about $68 a year to run this. So if you are looking at the one that uses 836 kilowatt hours per year, and you see there's ones that use almost 100 kilowatt hours less, you might want to change your decision for what you're going to buy. So use your Energy Star label Energy Guide and Energy Star label for when you're buying appliances and electronics. And this is just a neat little graph here from the U.S. Department of Energy that shows you how much it costs to run appliances per year. So your TV actually isn't that much, your microwave oven, You get down there though, your pool pumps, if you have pools this time of year, they're using a lot of energy. Your refrigerator, your washer, your dryer. So especially on those appliances, try to buy the ones that you're going to get your Energy Star savings with. Okay? All right. And just some more tips for you for around the house. In the kitchen, keep your refrigerators full. Doesn't mean you have to go out and spend a lot of money though on food to keep them full. Save your milk jugs or your water gallons and just fill them up with water and put them in, because that'll take up the space. So that way the refrigerator isn't working as hard to keep it cool if there's more space taken up in there. Okay? So it can maintain its cold temperatures easier. And check your refrigerator temperature. 37 to 40 for your refrigerator is fine. Your freezer doesn't have to be on 0, 5 degrees. So raise your temperature a little bit if you can. It's going to save you some energy and some money. Use your dishwasher. Believe it or not, it can use less energy than hand washing, especially if you're letting the water run the entire time you're hand washing instead of using a basin and filling that up. Scrape your dishes instead of pre-washing them. Try to scrape it off. You're not running that water and wasting the water. And then make sure you are doing full loads when you run it. And let your dishes air dry. You don't have to pump the heat in there to dry them. Just let them air dry, because that uses a lot of energy. Okay? And if you can, use your microwaves. Use your slow cookers. Use your toaster ovens to cook some meals or parts of your meals, because it uses a lot less energy than your stove or your cooktop. And they don't, obviously they don't give off as much heat. So this time of year, you might have to crank your air conditioner even higher if you're trying to cook a meal, So put something in the crock pot. It's a good way to save some energy. And just something simple as using lids. They're going to help your meals cook faster. Okay? Laundry. If you can, wash your stuff in cold water instead of hot. Again, those costs associated with the water and heating the water. It's going to save you some money. Do full loads. Dry heavier stuff separately, because otherwise you're going to be drying stuff forever trying to get it all to dry. And clean your lint filter. That is, number one, a safety issue, but if your filter's full, the air exchange can't get through there as well, so your dryer is going to take longer to dry your clothes. Air dry, line dry if you can, and use the cool down cycle. That'll help to finish it off without having to pump new hot air into the dryer. Okay? Turn off your appliances and electronics when you're not using them, other places around the house. And some people were talking about this a little earlier. Unplugging things when you're using them. Now people think, well, I have my coffee pot plugged in, but it's turned off. Guess what? It's still using energy. Most things do. If you leave your charger for your cell phone or your laptop plugged into the wall, it is still drawing energy. Unplug things if you can. Here's a good rule of thumb. If it's turned off and there's places of it that still feel warm, it's still drawing energy. So unplug those things or use a power strip, because turning a power strip on and off acts just like you unplug that appliance or that electronic. There are some things that it just might be impractical. I mean, your television set or your cable box, because it might have to reboot and take a long time. So make sure other things you are unplugging. It's so easy to leave that cell phone charger in there, but we had a little watt meter we were playing with one day, and you'd be surprised that it's still drawing, depending on the charger you have, several watts, up to 5 watts, with nothing connected onto it. So unplugging things it's going to help you save some energy and some money. And like I mentioned before, use the sleep function or timers on electronics as well, so you don't just keep them running. Okay? And you should all be aware of this by now, that as of January 1st, you can now pick your electricity supplier. You don't have to go with who PECO wants you to go with. So you can shop around for lower prices. Or you can even look at somebody who might offer wind or solar power and buy one of those suppliers. PA Power Switch, that is the website you should go to. When you go there, it will give you a list of all the alternative suppliers in your area. And in some cases, the list can be pretty long. These people have been calling, knocking on doors. They've been very aggressive in some regards as well. So you really need to be careful and do your homework. Unfortunately, there was an article in the paper several months ago about one of these companies that made it seem like it was just a pyramid scheme where they were just trying to recruit people to sell energy, to recruit more people, to recruit more people. And it didn't seem like they were concerned with supplying you energy. So there are some questions on the PA Power Switch website that you should look into. Obviously, what's the price per kilowatt hour? And look at PECO's price to compare. Right now, I believe it's around 10, but that will change come the fall. Are all the taxes included? What else am I going to be paying on top of this, this price? Do I have to sign a contract? And for how long? And more importantly, if I want to get out of that contract, how much is it going to cost me? Because a lot of these companies have cancellation fees. So just be very careful. If you sign a contract now with them and they're a variable rate company, you might be getting a good rate now, but they could really jack those prices up on you and you're locked into a contract. So be very, very careful and do your homework on these companies. A full list of questions can be found on the PA Power Switch website. So it's a really good website to check out. Okay. And there are a lot of other tools and calculators that can be beneficial to you. If you're interested in putting in solar panels, or you're interested in putting in a little, mini wind turbine, you can check out how much that might cost you by going to solarestimate.org. You put in your zip code, and you can find out, how much is this? Am I going to benefit from putting this in? Might I save myself some money or not? How many years might it take to recoup my costs? Some other good tools and calculators that are on the left, those are all on PECO's website, believe it or not. Water heater, compare your fuel efficiency savings. If you want to switch to a heat pump, if you want to convert over to gas heat, it can really give you a lot of good information to help you make a decision, is this beneficial for me or not? So before you change any of the technologies, you should really check out some of these tools and do your homework to find out if it really is going to save you money in the long run. Okay? And we're almost at the end here. I do have some credits and rebates and incentives to go over with you. As I mentioned before, unfortunately, the federal tax credits, they were a lot better last year, but there are still some available. Tax credit for 10% of your cost up to $500 on some things, or it can be a specific amount from $50 to $300. So for example, a biomass stove, you can get up to $300 credit for. New heating, ventilation, or air conditioning, that goes from $50 to $300 depending on what you get. Even for putting in insulation, you can get that 10% of your cost back. New water heaters, new windows, new roofs. So there are still some credits available if you do want to make any of these upgrades. And then there is a 30% with no upper limit for if you want to make some of these bigger changes, like installing the geothermal heat pump we talked about, or putting in a small wind turbine, or putting in solar energy systems. So you can get up to 30% of your cost back on those items, and that doesn't expire until 2016. So there's still plenty of time to look into those. Those other credits that are up there in the first part, they expire at the end of this year. So if you want to add some insulation and get some credits for it, you might want to do it before the end of the year. Okay. And also, unfortunately, last year, a lot of the clean vehicle tax credits expired, so there's none left for hybrid vehicles anymore. People really did use those, though, and bought them, which is good. But the only ones that are left are for plug-ins, so there's a credit available for those plug-in hybrids. Alternative fuel vehicles, there's credits for those, and for electric vehicles. So if you're looking to buy any of those, a new vehicle, you might want to consider one of these because there are credits available and they're environmentally friendly. All this is in your handout, all of these credits and rebates, so you can take a look at those. And EnergyStar.gov is where all this information can also be found online. Okay. Locally, on the state level, there are several programs you can take advantage of. The Sunshine Solar Rebate Program. So if you're looking to put in a solar panel system, you maybe can get some rebates through this program from the state. There's also a high performance building program, so there's grants and loans to underwrite the costs of designing and constructing major renovations or very big green buildings. So maybe if you're looking to build a new energy efficient home, you can look into those. Okay. And there's also a lot of loans as well to help you out if you are interested in putting in some of these technologies. The Keystone Help Program, they offer a low rate, low payment for these types of renovations or improvements to your house. And like I said, all of this is included in your handout. Okay. And what's a really, really good website? EnergyWorksNow.com. This is the one I was telling you about earlier in regard to the home audits, that they are now offering the home energy audits for $150. But they're also a really good website that brings together all of the tax rebates, credits, loans, all of that information for our area can be found on their website. So it's a program of there's a coalition of a lot of different area, like it's Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, Philadelphia. It's supported by a grant from the Department of Energy. So it's a really good website that houses all of this information as well. And locally, I already mentioned some of PECO's programs, but PECO has their Smart Ideas programs. You might know the Ogre refrigerator or little bat light. That's the marketing that goes along with this campaign. They're smart home rebates. You should take advantage of these if you've bought any new appliances. I'm going to say recently, but it actually goes back to July of 2009. You can get rebates of up to $50 on certain appliances. I would hurry though, because they have filed with the PUC. This program has been so popular that they've been giving away lots of money. So instead of ending the program early, they're looking to cut some of the rebate amounts. I'm not sure when that's going to go into effect, but it's on their filing page of their website that they have requested this change. So right now though, if you had a washer, a dishwasher, a refrigerator, you can get up to $50. If you did just buy yourself a window air conditioner, you might be able to get yourself $25. And then if you've made any bigger changes or plan to in your heating and ventilation systems, they're offering up to about $400 on certain HVAC equipment. Okay. This is a program you might be interested in right now. It's called Smart AC Saver. It only applies if you have central air conditioning, but if you join the program, you can get credits up to $120 on your bill, $30 a month during the summer months. So it would be June through September. What they do is they put a little cycling unit on your air conditioning system, and they have what's called conservation events. So on days when the demand for electricity is very high, they put a conservation event in, and it reduces, I think it turns off your air conditioner's compressor, but it lets the fan keep running for about 30 minutes every half an hour for 4 to 6 hours on hot weekdays. So I believe it's between 12 and 8 p.m. they can do this. If you have a home though, where you have enough insulation in there, it shouldn't really affect your home's temperature, but again, that's a personal decision. You can opt out of the program though. It's free to join, it's free to opt out. So if you don't like it, you don't have to stay with it. But if you're someone who might not use your air conditioning that much, might not notice a change, you can get $30 credit on your bill per month. So it might be something you want to look into. And that's just during the summer months, not all year round. Okay. I already talked about the lighting discounts. So they've reduce the cost of CFL bulbs in many stores in the area. And the other one is the smart appliance recycling. If you have an old refrigerator sitting around, has to still work though. Instead of having to sometimes pay people to come pick it up and take it away, PECO pays you. They'll give you $35, they'll take it and they'll recycle it for you as well. And if you have a window air conditioner, they'll pick that up at the same time and give you $10, but they don't pick up air conditioners by themselves. It has to be in conjunction with a refrigerator or freezer. So, and you can schedule all of that online through their website too when they come and pick it up and take it away. So some programs to look into locally that might save you some money. Okay? And this is the list of all the additional resources that we talked about, or some of them I didn't. There's your footprint calculator, your insulation calculator, the Department of Energy's website, Energy Star, PA Power Switch. The only one I don't have on there, I have to update this, so it's not on your list, is the energyworksnow.com for the audits. So if you want to write that one down, I apologize, I didn't update that one, but Pico Smart Ideas is on here, list of incentives for the state. So lots of the things we talked about can be found on this list. But energyworksnow.com is the only one that's not on here. Okay. Oh, is it? No, there's Energy Star. Oh, there is EnergyWorks. You know what? But I don't think I put it on yours. I think I updated this, but I didn't put it on the handout because I already had some of the copies made. So yours might or might not be on there. Yes. Well, that was a lot of information, but I hope you take something out of this. But I'd be happy to answer any questions as best I can. If anybody has any. Yes? It's a great question. Recycling them, and places like Home Depot recycle them. Other places do as well. There's two ways to find out. If you have internet access, go to Pico's website for their smart ideas, their lighting discounts. If you put in your zip code, it'll give you a list of all the stores near you that recycle, or places near you that will recycle your CFL bulbs. Or if you don't, you can call 188 5 Pico Save, I think is the number for the Pico Smart Ideas program if you don't have internet access. But they can tell you where to recycle them in your area. But Home Depot, for sure, will take them back. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Along those lines, will Pico pick up a non-working room air conditioner?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. If you go on their website and look it up, they have all the facts for that. I know it has to be a working refrigerator. I don't know about the air conditioner. That's a good question. Yeah, if you go on their pico.com/smart ideas, smart appliance recycling, they have all the FAQs there. And if it's not on there, just call that number, 188 5 Pico Save. I'm pretty sure that's their number for the smart ideas. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, before I do leave, I want to pick my audit winner. So you will have the person who wins. You will have a energy contractor come to your house, and they will do an energy audit and give you a full report on places where you might need some energy or could benefit for some energy saving upgrades here. And I believe we're actually going to start going through EnergyWorks now. We're still going to use our contractor, but I think we might also be taking advantage of their program too to help us along to offer more of these to people, since they were a $250 value. So we'll see if we can do that. But I will go and grab our little. Does anybody else?